it's a lovely way to practice all this stuff actually as you're out walking in nature. And we can reflect on our relationships in that space and think, are we being and doing the way we want to do? If we knew we only had a certain amount of time left in our lives, would we be acting the way we want to? That's always a good check, is we do this exercise. You think about the end of your life or a very late on birthday, and you think about what you would want the people in your life to have said about you and how you were. And then we can start to manifest that now if we don't feel aligned with that. So that's always a good check. But today we're starting to look at assertiveness. So assertiveness is this way of communicating where hopefully we get a win-win outcome. Both perspectives and needs are taken into account in the discussion, in the exchange. It's more effective. So it's not the silverback gorilla that we mentioned last week of smashing and throwing things. It's actually talking and listening in a way that actually people hear what you're saying and are more likely to change. So it's more influential, has a lot of negotiation. So we'll get into a practice, and then we'll do a bit more on this tomorrow. So we'll have a bit of time, because it's a huge topic actually, assertiveness. And I'm sure many of you have done this probably in your work training. Many of you may be very good at these skills already. So just see this as stuff that adds to that. So we'll do a practice to sort of illustrate some basic skills. And my favorite assertiveness skill of all is something called Empathic challenge. So we used empathy and we developed it last week. This is now we bring in the challenge. So rather than just going straight in with a challenge and telling someone they're totally wrong and they don't get this and all of that, we actually build empathy, we communicate, we understand their thoughts and feelings, and then we challenge with our own needs, our own beliefs, our own thoughts and feelings. So we'll do that now as a practice, and then we'll hopefully have a minute or two to discuss at the end. So sitting upright on your chair, closing your eyes, or just gently lowering your eyes down to look in front of you and opening your chest. And we're going to use a practice, first of all, that we've done already, dropping anchor. And dropping anchor is something that we can use in these difficult exchanges. So as soon as we feel that the emotional levels are rising, there's a sort of charge and intensity, then dropping anchor is such a useful tool. And in previous weeks, we've done a longer version. We're going to do it quite quickly now, the way you would do it in conversation. So the more you practice this, the more it's going to be there for you. We're doing it with our eyes closed. Obviously, you wouldn't close your eyes in the middle of a heated exchange, no matter how much you might want to, and hold your head in your hands, but we'll keep our eyes open. But the way you do dropping anchor in those moments is just very quickly scanning your body, checking your mind, and noticing and naming what emotion is there, what feeling, sensation is there, what thoughts are there, and what urges are there. So it might be literally as quick as this. Okay, I feel a little bit agitated, a little bit frustrated. I am feeling and thinking negative thoughts towards this person, and my urge is to walk away right now. Okay, so we notice and name all of that. That gives us a step back, do it very quickly, and then we connect with our body in some way. So the simplest one is actually to take some deep breaths. So for most people, this smooth rhythm of the breath will be useful. It's not the only option. We'll explore another one, but for now, just a smooth breathing rhythm. And actually, this just takes the edge off our nervous system activation. So it won't get rid of difficult emotions, but it just anchors and grounds you enough so that you aren't so hijacked by your emotional brain. So a smooth rhythm of the breath. You just, take a breath in conversation, take a couple of breaths. Now, if the breath isn't so useful, and other options are to connect with your body through a little bit of movement, and that would be a movement that is very subtle, so the person wouldn't even know you're doing anything. So it could be just feeling the weight of your feet in the ground, the uprightness of your body, having a good, confident body posture might be helpful anyway. massaging the center of your palms, or just kind of doing a subtle movement you feel isn't going to distract the person, but you feel is nurturing and grounding for you. So either the breath or the movement. And then the final step of dropping anchor is engaging with the environment. And here it's just bringing your attention back to the other person. So you just focus on them, concentrate on seeing what emotion are you seeing in them, what body language is there, listening. So what's their tone telling you? You know, is there anger, but is there also vulnerability under that? Are they protecting themselves, protecting from fear and sadness with anger? Are they anxious, actually? If we're more of an assertive, fight-dominated nervous system, are they actually frightened and they're not going to be able to hear us? So we'll find we tend to be one or the other. We're normally a fight or flight, or sometimes a freeze person in the heat of the moment. So having this mindful awareness can help us if we're feeling overwhelmed, but also if we're overwhelming other people with our intensity. So engaging in the environment, focusing on what they're saying, connecting with what they're thinking. So I've talked it through, it's gone a bit longer. You'd obviously do this in just 5 seconds or less. So you'd notice a name, take a deep breath or a number of deep breaths or a little movement, and then focus back onto the other person. And this would be something to practice and keep doing and to use when you need it. But we'll keep going as if this is a meditation now. In reality, you'd be in conversation here, but with your eyes closed. And just thinking of a recent exchange that was a bit trickier. So you had a little bit of a disagreement. It doesn't have to be the most intense exchange in your life. It could be just a bit of frustration, a little bit of tension in relationship, picturing where you were, who you were with. And you can use your breath here to keep the anchor going in the background. So as you picture this difficult situation, you feel grounded and anchored with your body and your breath. And then thinking about what empathy would have been in that exchange. So empathy is when we paraphrase what we think the other person is feeling, thinking, needing, believing at that time. And we do it tentatively. We don't know what they're thinking. We can only guess and only question. So we inquire into it. So it might be, do you mean X, Y, and Z? Or it sounds like you're thinking this, or it sounds like you need this. What do you think about this aspect? So it could be a question. It's a tentative or paraphrasing of what they're thinking and feeling. So try that in your mind. What were they thinking and feeling and needing at that time? What were their goals? And then the simplest way to then challenge that is with I statements. And these are when we use I feel, I think, I need, I believe statements. So often in difficult exchanges, we go to the you type of talk. So we talk about the other, we tell them what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're doing wrong. But actually, no one receives that very well. So it's much more effective to talk about, you know, our feelings, our thoughts, our needs, our beliefs, and then to negotiate. So thinking about that now, how would you say that? Would you say very simply, I hear what you're saying, but actually right now I need this? Or, you know, it sounds like this is tough for you, but I'm thinking this right now. Or I'm feeling actually overwhelmed. Or it could be more of the structure when you say this, I feel that, and I would prefer this. Can we discuss? So when you get angry and aggressive, I feel anxious and I can't concentrate on you so well. I'd prefer if we talked calmly. Can we discuss this? Can we negotiate how we do this? So very simply connecting with some I feel, I think, I need statements. And then if the other person still is angry, aggressive, then you can roll back into empathy. You can say, oh gosh, it sounds like we're really not aligning on this. Is there any way we can negotiate this, or do we need to take a break? And keeping on dropping anchor. It's very hard to do this when our emotional brain is activated. It's very difficult, but we can get better at this. And now just letting go of that memory and taking a few deep breaths and coming back to the space, to the room, gently opening your eyes, looking around you. And yeah, we'll just spend a minute or two talking about it. If anyone needs to shoot off right away at 9, feel free. We'll come back to this tomorrow a bit more to give it a bit more time, because it's quite a big principle. I mean, assertiveness is a whole day's training or more. So we're just doing some snippets here. But really, just to review that, so we're dropping anchor, we're using this dropping anchor tool, and then we're using empathic challenge. And this really helps us whether we're a fight-orientated person or a flight-orientated person. So if we're a fight-orientated person, then we might have the seduction of anger. I talk about the seductive nature of anger. It feels good to feel powerful, to feel assertive, to have that energy of anger. And we can get our needs met, and we can, we can have control. So it's tempting to fall into that, but actually very few people will hear that and not get defensive. Very few people will not get anxious actually, or frightened by that potentially even. At the very least, people will get defensive, so we won't even be effective. Change through that kind of aggression doesn't lead to lasting change. It leaves wounds and scars, and people will, they'll hold grudges and things like that. We want to negotiate. You don't ever see someone go into a hostage negotiation and start shouting and being aggressive. They start with empathy and they talk the person down, and then they negotiate. And we kind of want to do that. Obviously, it's much harder in reality, and none of this is easy, but we can work on it as a goal. So that's the fight side. We want to be effective. We want to reduce the emotional hijack. The flight side as well, we get activated in anxiety. We can't think straight, shuts down the prefrontal cortex, so we can't do the higher ordered thinking. We're more kind of freezing. We want to run away. So we're not going to learn. No one learns well. So if you're coaching others, no one learns in that place. If you're in that position, it's very hard to debate and negotiate well. So we need dropping anchor to ground us, take the edge off that. And then empathic challenge buys us some time if we're a flight person, so we can talk the person down. And I've heard therapists who work in psychiatric units work with forensic patients who have a history of hurting and really and even killing people, and using this tool to calm and soothe and talk people down. So you can do it even in intense situations. It's very difficult, but we can all get better at it. So that's empathic challenge, dropping anchor. The challenge for today is to bring dropping anchor into at least one of your exchanges. So as you're going through an exchange, probably an easy one, something nice and simple, just practice dropping anchor. So notice a name, your thoughts, feelings, and urges. And the urges are the impulses to do behaviors that might not help you. So notice a name, connect with your body, and then engage back into the conversation and use the breath. So if you need to remember that, on the Mindfulness Circle YouTube page, we've got dropping anchor there as a practice. Hopefully, at the very simplest, it's just taking a few deep breaths and being aware of what's going on in you before you respond. So yeah, we'll come back to this. We'll do more on assertiveness, more on empathic challenge, but I hope you got something. If there's any questions, ping them in the chat bar and we'll have a think about them. But today, bring dropping anchor into one of your exchanges, and if you're feeling really ready for a challenge, try some empathic challenge if you have a difficult conversation. So starting with empathy, what their thoughts and feelings are, and then I feel, I think, I need statements, I statements. So give it a go, and I'd love to hear how you get on. And obviously this is difficult. Our emotional brain is so strong, so powerful, it can hijack us so easily that we need to keep working at these skills, and they're life skills. So none of us will be able to immediately do this, but you can get better at it.